You won't believe these bizarre laws that actually existed. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the deep end of the legal pool. You know, you think you understand the world. You think laws are there to keep things orderly, to stop crime, to make sure society runs smoothly. And then you find out that at one point it was illegal to have an ice cream cone in your back pocket. I mean, what? It's like someone saw a problem so specific, so incredibly niche, that they had to write it down and make it official. Who was this person? What was going on in their life? I have so many questions. We've scoured the history books, we've looked through dusty old legal documents, and we've found some of the most ridiculous, laugh-out-loud, head-scratching laws ever put into effect. These aren't just silly suggestions. These were actual, enforceable rules. People could get in trouble for this stuff. It's like finding out your great-great-grandpa could have been arrested for not having a mustache. It's hilarious. It's weird, and it makes you wonder what strange laws we have today that people will be laughing about in 100 years. I bet there are a few. So, get ready to have your mind blown. We're going on a journey through time to explore the legal quirks that make history so fascinating and, frankly, so funny. From fashion police in California to donkeys taking a bath in Arizona, this is a tour of legislative insanity you do not want to miss. We're going to break it all down, have a few laughs, and maybe even learn a little something along the way. Let's get into it. All right, first up, we're heading to merry old England. The year is 1313. Picture it, castles, knights, maybe a dragon or two flying around. I don't know, I wasn't there. But what I do know is that the government passed a law called the statute forbidding bearing of armor. This law made it illegal to wear a full suit of armor in Parliament. I mean, come on, this is amazing. It suggests that this was a recurring problem. It wasn't just a one-off thing. You can just imagine the scene. Lord Harrington is trying to make a point about tax reform, but he can't be heard over the clank, clank, clank of Sir Reginald's new helmet. It must have been so distracting. I yield the floor to the honorable gentleman from Sussex as soon as he gets that breastplate unstuck from the doorway. It's the medieval equivalent of someone taking a really loud phone call in the middle of a meeting. You just want to say, dude, really? Here? Think about the logistics. You're trying to debate important matters of state, and some guy is there looking like a walking tin can. How do you even sit down? Do they have special, extra-wide chairs for the guys in armor? And what about the security check at the entrance? Excuse me, sir, is that a mace, or are you just happy to be legislating? It had to be a whole thing. They probably had a little coat check area just for swords and shields. They basically wanted debates, not duels. And I get it. Things could get heated. You disagree on a new trade policy, and next thing you know, someone's throwing down a gauntlet. It's a bit much. All in favor say aye. All opposed, prepare for a joust. It really puts a different spin on political discourse, doesn't it? The Speaker of the House would need a referee's uniform. This law tells you everything you need to know about politics back then. It was intense. Today, a politician might deliver a fiery speech. Back then, they might deliver a fiery speech while literally wearing armor, just in case things went sideways. It's like they were prepared for the debate to turn into a full-on battle royale at any moment. My final point is, duck! So, they passed this law to, I guess, de-escalate things a bit. All right, guys, let's use our words. And leave the plate mail at home, please. It's a very polite, very British way of saying, could you all just calm down before someone loses an eye? It's one of the first workplace dress codes, and it's probably the coolest one ever. And honestly, can you imagine trying to filibuster in a suit of armor? You'd pass out from heat exhaustion after 20 minutes. Maybe that was the secret plan all along. A clever way to shorten debates. Anyone else wish to speak? No? Sir Geoffrey has fainted in his greaves again. Motion passes. Absolutely brilliant. Next, we're hopping across the pond and jumping forward in time to Indiana. Now, Indiana has had some interesting laws, but this one is a masterpiece of facial hair legislation. For a time, it was reportedly illegal for a man who had a tendency to kiss other humans to not have a mustache. Let me repeat that. You were legally required to wear a mustache. It was basically Movember all year round by law. Think about the implications here. You're a young guy in Indiana, you're clean-shaven, you're living your life, and a police officer pulls you aside. Son, I haven't seen you with a lady friend, but I see a distinct lack of upper lip foliage. I'm gonna have to write you a ticket for follicular neglect. Can you imagine that conversation? It's the kind of thing you'd see in a comedy sketch. And who was the judge of a tendency to kiss other humans? Was there a kissing inspector? Did you have to declare it on your taxes? Yes, I have a tendency to kiss. Here's my mustache permit. It's so wonderfully absurd. It raises so many questions. What if you couldn't grow a good mustache? Were you just out of luck romantically? Did the state provide fake mustaches for the follically challenged? I just picture barbershops being the most powerful businesses in the state. They weren't just cutting hair. They were ensuring citizens were compliant with the law. Give me the who's your handlebars stat. I've got a date on Friday and I don't want to get arrested. The pressure to have a glorious, law-abiding mustache must have been immense. It's a whole new level of keeping up with the Joneses. And why? What was the reason behind this? The theories are a bit fuzzy, but some say it was a public health thing, trying to stop the spread of germs. How a mustache helps with that, I have no idea. Maybe it acts as some kind of filter? A lip-based air purifier? Don't worry, my love. My mustache will protect you from the vapors. It sounds like something a guy with a mustache would make up to justify it. This law creates a hilarious mental image of an entire state populated by men who look like Tom Selleck or Sam Elliott. From the fresh-faced teenager trying to sprout his first few whiskers to the old man with a grand, sweeping handlebar, it was a mustachioed utopia. It was the law of the land. You had to respect the stash. Frankly, I think we should bring it back for one day a year, a national mandatory mustache day. Just to see what happens. It would be chaos. It would be beautiful. But until then, we can just look back and appreciate the time when Indiana's government cared so deeply about what was happening or not happening on its citizens' upper lips. All right, let's head down south to Kentucky, the bluegrass state, famous for horses, bourbon, and a deep-seated suspicion of ice cream cones. Yes, you heard me right. At one point in Kentucky, it was illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. Now, your first reaction is probably, why would anyone do that? And that is a very, very good question. It seems like a solution in search of a problem, but oh, there was a problem. A very specific, very strange problem. Apparently, this wasn't about laundry or sticky situations. The law was put in place to combat horse theft. The story goes that clever thieves would put a delicious, tempting ice cream cone in their back pocket, and an unsuspecting horse would follow them, lured away by the sweet treat. The horse would just follow the person right off the property. It's the equine equivalent of a stranger offering you candy. I am just fascinated by the mind of the person who figured this out. Who was the first horse thief to think, you know what would be a great way to steal this 1,000-pound animal? A scoop of vanilla. It's genius! It's diabolical! It's also completely ridiculous. And it must have worked often enough that they needed to legislate against it. That's the best part. This wasn't a one-time thing. Imagine the courtroom scene. So, Mr. Smith, can you tell the jury where you were on the night of the 10th? I was at the stables, Your Honor. And can you explain the mint chocolate chip stains on the back of your trousers? Objection! My client just has poor snack management skills. The whole thing is just incredible. It's a law that sounds like it was written by a cartoon character. Think about the poor, innocent people who were just, temporarily storing their dessert. Maybe their hands were full, you're carrying groceries, your kid's backpack, and you've got this ice cream cone. The back pocket seems like a viable, if messy, short-term solution. And suddenly, you're a potential horse rustler. You're getting suspicious looks from everyone at the Derby. Look at that guy. He's got a cone. Keep an eye on Seabiscuit. This law is a perfect example of how specific and weird laws can get when they're reacting to a very particular local issue. They didn't ban horse theft, which was already illegal. They banned the tool of the trade. It's like banning ski masks instead of bank robbery. They went right for the source of the temptation, the back pocket cone. So next time you're in Kentucky, enjoy your ice cream, but keep it in your hand. Keep it visible. Don't give anyone any ideas. You never know when an old law might still be on the books or when a horse might start following you, hoping for a lick of your butter pecan. It's just safer for everyone involved. Let's travel up to the beautiful, serene state of Vermont. Known for its gorgeous fall foliage, maple syrup, and apparently a very strong stance on underwater acoustics. In what has to be one of the most specific noise ordinances of all time, it was illegal to whistle underwater in Vermont. Yes, whistling underwater. Let that sink in for a moment, no pun intended. Well, maybe a little. My first question is, how? How does one whistle underwater? I've tried. You just make bubbles. It sounds like a fish having a mild panic attack. It's not exactly a symphony. Is there a special technique, a secret method known only to the people of Vermont? Did they have a problem with rogue aquatic whistlers disturbing the peace? I need answers. I have this image of a state legislator standing up and saying, with a completely straight face, "My fellow Vermonters, we have a crisis. The tranquility of our pristine lakes is being threatened. People are whistling underwater. It's an epidemic and it must be stopped." And everyone else in the room just nods seriously, as if this is a perfectly normal thing to be concerned about. Think about the poor guy who got this law passed. What happened to him? Was he trying to have a peaceful swim in Lake Champlain, just communing with nature, and suddenly he hears this faint, bubbly, off-key rendition of Yankee Doodle coming from the depths? It must have been a traumatic experience. He probably swam to shore, sputtering, and went directly to his local representative's office. There's a menace in our waters, and how would you even enforce this? Do they have underwater police patrols? License and registration, please. And I'm going to have to ask you to exhale. I smell a tune. The whole concept is just delightful. It's a law that seems designed to protect fish from bad music. Maybe the trout are very sensitive critics. Oh no, it's Steve again. He's doing his bubbly version of show tunes. Let's hide behind this rock. This law feels like it was born out of a dare. Like two friends were sitting by a lake and one said, "I bet I can whistle underwater," and the other said, "I bet it's illegal." And then they had to go and make it illegal just to win the bet. It's the only logical explanation for a law this bizarre. It's so wonderfully pointless. It's a testament to Vermont's commitment to peace and quiet. They don't just want quiet on land, they demand it in their waterways too. No motorboats above a certain speed, no loud parties on the shore, and absolutely under no circumstances are you to attempt an underwater performance of an opera. They are serious about their serenity. So a word of advice, if you find yourself swimming in Vermont, by all means enjoy the cool, clear water. But if you get an irresistible urge to pucker up and blow a tune, just wait until you get back on dry land. The fish and the Vermont State Legislature will thank you for it. We're heading back to the UK for this next one, and it is a classic. It's one of the most famous weird laws out there, and for good reason. It is technically illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament. I am not making this up. If you're in the middle of a tour or a session and you start to feel a bit faint, you feel the light dimming, you better get yourself outside, quickly, because shuffling off this mortal coil within those hallowed walls is a big no-no. The reason behind this is actually kind of logical in a very strange bureaucratic way. The Houses of Parliament are considered a royal palace, and because of that status, anyone who dies there is technically entitled to a state funeral. A full-blown, pomp and circumstance, taxpayer-funded state funeral, which, as you can imagine, is a very expensive and elaborate affair. So, this law is basically an extreme cost-saving measure. It's the British government's way of saying, look, we'd love to honor you, but our budget is a bit tight this quarter. Could you do us a favor and just not die in here? That would be super, thanks. It's the most polite, passive-aggressive piece of legislation I've ever heard of. It's peak Britishness. I just love the idea of the security guards being trained for this. They're not just looking for threats. They're looking for people who look a little too pale. Code Gray. We have a Code Gray in the central lobby. He's looking peaky. Get him to the curb, stat. Their primary job is to escort anyone looking remotely unwell to the nearest exit before they can cause a major diplomatic and financial incident. Can you imagine the pressure? You're an elderly member of the House of Lords. You've had a long day. You might have overdone it at lunch. You start to feel a little dizzy during a debate on agricultural subsidies. The panic sets in, not because you're dying, but because you're about to do it illegally. You're thinking, I can't afford a state funeral. I'll be a burden. It adds a whole new layer of stress to public service. This law is the ultimate expression of not on my watch. It's a building so important, you're not even allowed to inconvenience it with your own death. It's a level of historical preservation that is both admirable and completely hilarious. They're preserving the building, the traditions, and the national budget all in one fell swoop. So if you ever get the chance to visit the magnificent Houses of Parliament in London, by all means go. Take in the history, admire the architecture, but maybe have a good breakfast first. Stay hydrated. And if someone asks you how you're feeling, just say fantastic, even if it's not entirely true. It's just easier for everyone involved. Let's jet over to the sunny coast of California, to the beautiful artsy town of Carmel by the sea. It's a place known for its quaint cottages, stunning beaches, and its strict footwear regulations. Believe it or not, in Carmel, it has long been on the books that you need a permit to wear high heels over 2 inches in height. Yes, a permit. for your shoes. This is the fashion police, made literal. This wasn't about making a fashion statement or trying to control style. It was actually a very practical, if unusual, solution to a legal problem. The streets of Carmel are famously uneven, with quaint cobblestone-style pavement and sidewalks that are often interrupted by tree roots. The city was facing a lot of lawsuits from people who would trip and fall, often while wearing high heels, and then sue the city for damages. So the city's lawyers came up with a brilliant plan. Instead of repaving the entire town, which would ruin its rustic charm, they just shifted the liability. They passed an ordinance requiring a permit for high heels. The permit is free and you can get it at City Hall. But by getting the permit, you are officially acknowledging that you are aware of the risks of walking on their uneven streets in stilettos. It's a waiver in the form of a fashion license. I love this so much. It's such a clever, bureaucratic workaround. It's like saying, you want to wear those fabulous but treacherous shoes? Fine. But you're doing it at your own risk. We have the paperwork to prove we warned you. It's a masterclass in covering your, well, assets. I have to applaud the ingenuity. Can you imagine the scene at Carmel City Hall? Hi, I'm here for a building permit, a business license, and a permit for these Jimmy Choos. It's just another piece of paperwork you need to live your life in Carmel. I wonder if they have a special department for it. The Department of Elevated Footwear. It sounds like a government agency from a Wes Anderson movie. This law creates a funny social dynamic. Are the locals just walking around in flats, knowingly pointing at the tourists teetering on their heels? Look at that rebel. No permit, I bet. She's living on the edge. It turns a simple shoe choice into an act of either civic compliance or reckless defiance. And what about enforcement? It's mostly a legal protection, so you probably won't get a ticket. But I like to imagine a lone police officer with a ruler, just checking heel heights. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see your heel permit. That's a 3-inch stiletto in a 2-inch zone. It's a hilarious image. So if you plan a trip to Carmel, pack your walking shoes. Or make your first stop City Hall to get your official high heel license. You can frame it when you get home. It's the best and weirdest souvenir you could possibly ask for. A government document certifying your right to be fashionable and slightly unstable. For our final law, we're heading to the desert heat of Arizona. This one sounds like the punchline to a joke you've never heard. In Arizona, it was once illegal to let a donkey sleep in a bathtub. I'll give you a moment to process that. Not just have a donkey in your house, not just have a donkey in your bathroom, but specifically letting the donkey sleep in the bathtub. This is a level of specificity that just begs for a backstory. And oh boy, does it have one. This isn't just some random made-up law. It's based on a true story from 1924. A rancher who lived outside the town of Kingman had a pet donkey. This donkey had a favorite napping spot, an old discarded bathtub out on the rancher's property. It was probably cool and comfortable. The donkey loved it. It was his little bed. The problem came when a nearby dam broke. A flash flood swept through the area. The poor donkey, sleeping peacefully in his bathtub, was caught in the floodwaters. The tub, being a tub, floated. The donkey was carried miles downstream, bathtub and all, until he got stuck in a basin. The whole town had to come together to rescue this poor, terrified, bathtub surfing donkey. It was a massive community effort. After the Great Donkey Flood of 1924, the townspeople, presumably after they were done laughing, decided to take action. They passed a law to prevent such a ridiculous and dangerous situation from ever happening again. They made it illegal to allow a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. It's a law born from a very specific, very memorable, and very wet local disaster. This is my favorite kind of law. It's not based on theory or morality. It's based on a real-life event that was so absurd, they had to make sure it was a one-time thing. You can just hear the conversation. We can't have this again. The rescue was a nightmare. From now on, donkeys sleep in barns, or sheds, or anywhere that isn't a potential watercraft. It's a perfect illustration of how laws reflect the unique challenges of a community. In most places, bathtub sleeping donkeys are not a pressing issue. But in Kingman, Arizona in 1924, it was the problem of the day. It was a public safety issue for donkeys. So there you have it. A law that protects donkeys from their own bad sleeping habits and protects towns from having to mount complex naval rescue missions for them. It's a story of community, crisis, and common sense, albeit a very, very strange form of common sense. And it's a great reminder that behind every weird law, there's often an even weirder story. And that's a wrap on some of the most bizarre, head-scratching, and downright hilarious laws from history. From England's armor-free parliament to Arizona's bathtub donkey dilemma, it's clear that the path of lawmaking is not always a straight one. Sometimes it takes a weird, winding detour into the land of mustaches and ice cream cones. It just goes to show that people in the past had to deal with some very, very specific problems, and their solutions were often just as strange. It makes you appreciate the relatively normal laws we have today. These stories are more than just funny bits of trivia, they're little windows into a different time. They show us the unique quirks, concerns, and characters that made up communities in the past. It's a reminder that history isn't just about big battles and important dates. It's also about the small, weird, everyday stuff that makes life interesting. I hope you had as much fun exploring these as I did. And if you know of any other weird laws, I would love to hear about them. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed this trip down legal memory lane, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fun facts and dives into the weird corners of history. We have a lot more crazy stories to share with you. Which law do you think is the weirdest? Let us know in the comments.